Looking ahead to Christmas of 2021, it could be a very dry Christmas in Nelson Mandela Bay. You might be wondering why that's the case. Water expert Anthony Turton joining us now to talk about this. Professor Turton, good to have you with us. So you're telling us if there's no rain in the next few weeks, it's going to be essentially a drought situation and a very dry Christmas in Nelson Mandela Bay. Why is that?
Good morning to you and the listeners. Nelson Mandela Bay is a fairly interesting case because it is highly dependent on interbasin transfer of water from the Harip Dam through the mountains into the Fish River and on into a very sophisticated set of transfers. It's one of the first big interbasin transfer schemes that were developed in the 1960s. And became the foundation of the South African Hydraulic Mission, which at that time was about the rapid industrialization of the country by harnessing the supply of water. Unfortunately, the skill set that we have today is unable to even grasp the complexity of that whole operation because they simply seem to be unable to understand that they're sitting with a dilemma.
So is there anything that can be done between now and December? I know we're always going to talk about, same as power issues, try and reduce the usage, but you can't really reduce the usage of water that much, I imagine, Professor, to the point where it's going to make a difference by December.
No, you see, unfortunately, all of your water infrastructure is generally long lead time stuff. You've got to really think about it and you've got to plan ahead. And, you know, what is happening is that, I guess there are a few things happening. The first thing is that South Africa is busy deindustrializing. And that deindustrialization we're seeing at accelerated rates in the former industrial areas, one of which is Nelson Mandela Bay, where the motor car industry was established. And the other one is in Mfuleni, which was the seat of heavy industry. Now, both of them are, in fact, pretty much parallel kind of cases, if you really want to look at them in a deeply introspective way. And it's all about providing the stable foundation for economic development. And that stable foundation is not only about water, it's also about stable electricity, and it's also about, functioning postal service, and it's also about all of the other services, the transport and infrastructure services that are needed to keep a local economy going. So water is really only one of the sort of smaller segments of that whole thing. But there is another thing that's happening in the country now, and that is that as we lurch forward towards this fiscal cliff, the simple reality is that government is no longer going to be financially able to fund the infrastructure upgrades that are going to be needed. And that, of course, is now opened up a different level of complexity because it's going to become the municipalities that have to make those decisions to enter into some kind of public-private partnership agreement with an independent, in this case, an independent water producer. And at this point in time, the municipalities aren't really geared up to even think about that kind of possibility at the moment.
Just in the last less than a minute I have with you, Prof, when you spoke earlier about its long lead times, its long-term planning. So how long ago could we have prevented this problem? Could we have foreseen this issue in Nelson Mandela Bay, and could it have been avoided? Last question.
Yes, I guess the early warning lights of this happened in 2002 when the National Water Resource Strategy, which was the first official document that basically identified the fact that we had allocated all the water that we have in the country at that point in time under those climatic conditions. So what we should have done then was start thinking about transitioning to a desalination type of economy where we desalinate at scale, because that's probably the future of Nelson Mandela Bay. It's probably going to be about bringing online a large fleet of what's known as SWRO plants, seawater reverse osmosis plants. That's probably going to be the future of Nelson Mandela Bay. But even that is probably a 10-year lead time in even thinking and planning and conceptualizing that.
It's such a worrying time, Prof, in South Africa at the moment. As I say goodbye to, we had an expert joining us earlier, Mike Rousseau, saying it could be 5 years before the load shedding and power cuts are gone. You're saying it could be 10 years for the water issue in Nelson Mandela Bay to come to an end as well. But I always appreciate your time. Professor Anthony Turton, water expert. Could be a dry Christmas for residents of Nelson Mandela Bay.